Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. It's Tuesday, time to talk about some new releases coming out this Friday, September 1st. There's about 300 albums coming out, so it's not a huge week, but I got 14 on the list for today. There's a bunch of links down below. Make sure you check them out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlists that we put together every week, and the Patreon page. Make sure you go check all that out. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. Like I said in the intro, there's about 300 albums coming out this week. I'm only going to talk about 14 on the show today, so if there's something I don't talk about, make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to picking up this week. And like always, if you're unable to find any of these in your local brick and mortar stores, I'll put links down below. All these should be available online. There is one big release this week that I'm really looking forward to, and that is this Jethro Tull Broadsword, the Beast anniversary box set that's coming out. Album was released back in 1982. It's their 14th studio album. This is all remastered, remixed by Steve Wilson. He's done all their albums so far in chronological order. There's a couple of different box sets that are going to be available for this. There's a 4 LP box set. It's going to run you about $75. If you buy it in store, it's going to run you probably closer to $90, $95. I think Pop Market has it cheaper. It's like 75, maybe $78. Amazon's got it for 75. So you got the 4 LP version, and then there's a 5 CD, 3 DVD version that's going to run you about $80. There's a little bit of difference between the two. I'll kind of go into some of that. So like I said, this is all remixed, remastered by Steve Wilson. It's going to sound fantastic. I love the job he's done with most of the Jethro Tull albums so far over the last several years that he's been doing this. Probably about 10 years he's been doing the Jethro Tull albums. So you get, this includes a booklet. There's a recreation of the 1982 tour program. There's photos. The vinyl version has some associated recordings and demos. And the difference between the LP and the CD version is the CD-DVD version also has a Live in Germany show from 1982. There's also some more remixes, a little more demos and stuff. But this is the first time that they've released a box set like this. The previous 13 albums that Steve Wilson has done, well, they released the vinyl version as just the standard album, the new remix from Steve Wilson, and then all the associated recordings, everything, all part of the DVD booklet box set. So this is the first time that they're doing a lot more of the recordings on the vinyl version, which I'm really happy for. I got the vinyl version of that on pre-order. And then you got the new album from Royal Blood coming out this week. This is Back to the Water Below. This is their 4th studio album. There's several versions that's going to be available. I know there's a clear indie exclusive version that's going to be available. It's going to run you about $24 online. If you're unfamiliar with Royal Blood, a very underrated English rock duo. They've been around, I think they formed in like 2011. Like I said, this is their 4th studio album. I like a lot of the stuff that they've done so far. They've got one single that's come up off of the album so far. This is Mountains at Midnight is the name of the single. I'm really impressed with it. I'm not like super blown away by it, but I'm definitely looking forward to this album. I probably won't pick it up this week, but I'll at least stream it and check it out. Some really great looking jazz albums coming out this week. The first one, this is Wayne Shorter, Schizophrenia, released back in 1967. That's part of the Blue Note Tone Poet series. I loved a lot of stuff from the Tone Poet series and the classic series over the last few years. I've discovered so many great jazz albums I probably would have never been able to listen to, at least have a physical copy of, without those great series. This is going to run you about $36 online. This is definitely my favorite Wayne Shorter album. I've slowly gotten into Wayne Shorter over the last probably year or so. I've streamed this one a bunch of times. I don't have a physical copy of it, though, so I'm definitely going to grab that one this week. A great lineup on this one, though. You get James Spaulding, Curtis Fuller, Herbie Hancock, Ron Carter, Joe Chambers. It's mastered by Kevin Gray. It comes with a nice deluxe gatefold jacket. I think this is going to be a great album to grab. Like I said, $36. It's a little bit more pricier than the classic series releases. I know the classic series releases are $28 to $32, and then these Tone Poet series, they come with a little bit nicer jacket, a little bit better presentation, so a little bit more money. But I think that's definitely a good one to grab this week. And then the next one, this is Big John Patton, Let 'Em Roll. This is one I'm not familiar with. I need to stream this one and check it out. Released back in 1965, also part of the Tone Poet series. This one's going to be a little more money. It's going to run you $39 over that $36 for Wayne Shorter. But you get Bobby Hutchinson on here, Grant Green, which I love Grant Green. I've got a couple of Grant Green albums. And then Otis Finch is also on here. Same thing, it's mastered by Kevin Gray. This one's pressed it to RTI. All from the original analog tapes. I think both those are definitely going to be great releases this week. You also got Open Sesame by Freddie Hubbard being reissued this week. Freddie Hubbard's one of those jazz musicians that over the last year or so has definitely been climbing up the ladder for him. He's becoming one of my favorite jazz musicians. This is one of them. I'm unfamiliar with this album, though. It's another one of those great jazz albums. It's got a bunch of great reviews, but I've never listened to it. I've never streamed it or anything. I'll definitely check out this week. But this was released back in 1960. This is going to be limited to 1,000 copies. So I'm kind of up in the air on this because I'm interested in this release, but I don't really know anything about the label that's pressing it. This is originally a Blue Note released on Blue Note a bunch of different times over the years. But this is from a label. This is from a French label called LMIR, which, like I said, I'm not familiar with it. I don't have any of their pressings. I don't really see anything online. I'll have to dig a little bit deeper to see how their sound quality is. Like I said, it's only limited to 1,000 pressings or 1,000 copies, so it might be a little harder to grab. Looks like there's a great lineup on here, though. You got Tina Brooks, McCoy Tyner, Sam Jones, Clifford Jarvis. Bunch of great jazz musicians. Like I said, I love a lot of the stuff that I have from Freddie, so I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I'll at least stream that one and check it out. Maybe dig into that label and grab it if I can find a copy of it. And then you also got to Ornette Coleman. Tomorrow is the Question coming out. This was released back in 1959. This is part of the Craft Recordings Contemporary Recordings Acoustic Sound Series. It's got to be the longest name of a series out there. But this one's got to run you about $30 online. All the craft stuff is going to sound great. This is one of those releases that you know is going to sound really great. It's definitely going to be worth the $30. So you got Don Cherry on here. You got Perry Heath. You got Red Mitchell. Another great lineup. All these big jazz musicians always had great lineups with them. I think it's really kind of helped the quality of their albums. But this is all mastered by Bernie Grunman from the original analog tapes. It's pressed at QRP. It's going to be a great jazz release. The next one is probably one of the best concept albums that you've probably never heard of. It's one that I've heard it. It's been a long time since I've listened to it, but it's a really great album. This is Phases and Stages by Willie Nelson, released back in 1974, his 17th studio album. So the album is a narrative of a divorce from each side. So side one, I think side one is from the wife's perspective, and then side two is from the husband's perspective. So it's really interesting the way the album plays out, and it's really kind of fascinating. I don't really, at least off the top of my head, I can't think of another album or another concept album like this that had that kind of narrative built into the story. Obviously, it's the narrative is the concept, but the way it's kind of told from each side of the story is really kind of fascinating to kind of go through and check it out. I guess this is all remastered also. It's going to run you about $25 online, so it's not a bad price for a really great album. And then this next one, I didn't know anything about this album. This is Ian Gillian, Tony Iommi, WhoCares, released back in 2012, which I don't remember anything. I don't even remember hearing anything about this album when it came out. You can drop me a comment down below. Let me know if I'm crazy. So this was a super group that was put together to rebuild a music school in Armenia that had been destroyed in 1988. So destroyed a couple of decades before that. I think it was Ian Gillian who had kind of been working with different organizations to kind of help rebuild this school. Nothing had been done, so he put the super group together. I guess they sold a bunch of copies of this album. So this is going to run you about $40 online. And I guess this is a very limited pressing of this. This is a 2 LP release. Very limited pressing. There was like 200 copies that were released earlier this year. I think that had been the first time it had been pressed since 2014 was the last time it was available on vinyl. So you got some great people on here. You got John Lord on here. You got Jason Newsted, of course, from Metallica. Nico McBrain. You got Miko Lindstrom. There's even more than that on there. That's just just like some of the main people are on there. You got a bunch of stuff on there, Deep Purple stuff on there. You got Black Sabbath stuff on there. It looks like it's gonna be a really great album. It's gonna run you about $40. Like I said, I didn't even know this thing existed. I'm gonna see if it's available on streaming just to see if I can check it out. So ever since the death of Gordon Lightfoot earlier this year, you started seeing some more of his stuff kind of trickle out. This week you got At Royal Albert Hall coming out. This was released back in July, so just a couple months after his death. But this is the first time it's going to be available on vinyl. This was recorded live May 24th, 2016. It's a double LP. There's 26 tracks on here. It's going to run you about $40. So not too long before his death back in May. Gordon requested that this album be released. He wanted to be released in full. There's no edits on here. There's no overdubs, remixes, resequencing, nothing like that. It's just the full album being released as it was recorded, as it was played live. So it's going to be a really great, like, lasting final tribute to Gordon Lightfoot, one of the greatest, singer-songwriters, best storytellers of the last, 50, 60 years in music. Just some great stuff. I'm definitely looking forward to checking that one out. And then you've also got Sturgill Simpson, A Sailor's Guide to Earth, being reissued this week. First came out back in 2016 as his third studio album. It's going about $25 online. This is probably one of the best albums of the last 7 or 8 years. It's definitely interesting because it's very different from a lot of other stuff you've seen released over the last decade. Sturgill Simpson's kind of an interesting character. He blends so many genres into his music. There's like a lot of folk stuff in there. There's country stuff. There's bluegrass. There's rock. Probably the best way to describe this album is more of like a country rock album, maybe like an alternative rock, not alternative rock, but alternative country album. It's a fascinating release. It's really interesting. I like a lot of his stuff. Some of his stuff is kind of a miss for me, but this is a really fantastic album. I think it's probably the best album that he's done. There's a great cover of In Bloom by Nirvana on here also. Obviously it's really kind of hard to match the greatness of the original version of it, but he does a really good job with it. The next one is one I know a lot of people have been looking forward to it being reissued, but this is Sky Blue Sky by Wilco, released back in 2007 as their 6th studio album. It's double LP. It's on Sky Blue vinyl with the title of the album like that. It's got to be on Sky Blue vinyl, right? It's going to run you about $35 online. If you're not familiar with who Wilco is, or formed in the early part of the 90s, I want to say it was like 94, 95 when they formed the band. Really great alternative rock band, done some really good stuff over the years. I'm not the biggest Wilco fan, but this is a really solid album, probably one of their best, in my opinion. Did really well when it first released. I think it hit number 4 on the Billboard charts in the U.S. Nominated for a Grammy for Best Rock Album in 2008. Really solid album. I think it's definitely one worth streaming and checking out if you're unfamiliar with Wilco. I think that album is a really good entry point into their music. So you got that coming out this week, and then you got David Lee Roth, Diamond Day, being reissued. First released back in 2003. It was his 6th and most recent studio album. It's going to be on pink vinyl, celebrating his 20th anniversary this year. It's going to run about $21 online. And this is interesting because it's, as far as like David Lee Roth's music go, if you know his music from over the years, this is like a surprisingly kind of laid back album. I wasn't really expecting it to be like that. Obviously you've been listening to Dave since the late 70s, early part of the 80s. But this is a great mix of covers on here. There's some original stuff on here. It's a really interesting album. I probably won't pick it up even for $21, but it's at least worth streaming and checking out if you're unfamiliar with it. I don't listen to it enough, I think, to really own it on vinyl though. Then the last two on the list are both pretty interesting reissues. You got the first one. This is Battle Maximus by Guar. Came out back in 2013. It was their 13th studio album. It's a 10th anniversary release. It's going to be on crystal blue with dark blue swirl vinyl. I saw a mock-up of it online. It actually looks pretty cool if you're into colored vinyl. It's going to run you about $30 online. This is the last album with their founding lead singer, Dave Brockie. I didn't even know he died back in 2014, so that's really unfortunate. I haven't listened to Guar in probably 25 years. Probably mid to late part of the 90s was the last time I listened to anything by the band. So I definitely need to go back and stream this one and check it out. But this is all newly remixed and remastered. Has a previously unreleased song, Tame Me the Swine King, on here. It's got new album artwork. It's got an embossed cover. Looks like it's going to be a pretty cool release if you're a fan of Guar. And then the last one on the list, this is The Exploited Live Lewd Lust. This was first released back in 1989. It's a live album. It's a compilation of stuff from 81 to 85. So it's like the early part from The Exploited. After like 85, 86, 87, they started going like very much into the, they went from like a hardcore punk band to doing a lot of thrash stuff in the mid to late part of the 80s. So this is like the earlier punk era from The Exploited. It's going to run you about $24 online. So earlier this year, there was a reissue of this on yellow vinyl. So I didn't see if this was a reissue or re-release of that yellow vinyl version of it, or if it's on black vinyl. So I'm not sure what color it's on. I didn't see it listed anywhere online. Someone can drop me a comment down below if you know. But so It's definitely one that's interesting. They're an interesting band because they're like I said, a Scottish punk band. Did a lot of like hardcore stuff earlier in the career. Really kind of transitioned in the middle part of the 80s. So I don't know if some of that more like thrash stuff made it onto this release or not, but it's definitely one I need to go back and check it out. It's the same with a lot of the stuff I'm talking about this week. A lot of the stuff I haven't heard in years and years and years, or haven't heard it at all. So it's might be a big week for me before going out to the record store to kind of check out some of this stuff and see what I want to pick up. Well, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to picking up this week. Because really, I got the Jethro Tull box set on pre-order. Other than that, I'll probably pick up the Wayne Shorter. Depending on how the sound quality is for that label, I might grab that Freddie Hubbard. So I'm definitely up in the air on some of that stuff. I'm up in the air also on like that Ian Gillian, Tony Iommi album. I might grab that Willie Nelson album. There's a lot of stuff I'm on the fence about. We'll see what I end up grabbing this week, but let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.